What if you could trick your brain to start making the hard things feel easy, such as studying, going to the gym, eating healthy, working on your side hustle? How cool would that be? By using one simple trick, you can get those things done so easily, and you're gonna become much more happier, successful, and achieve your dreams and goals. You probably have no problems watching TV for 2 hours or spending 2 hours on your phone scrolling through social media or even doing those two together, right? What about going to the gym for 2 hours? What about reading a book for 2 hours? What about working on a side hustle? A lot harder, right? And why do you think some people find those things very easy and can achieve those, but you find that really hard? We have to understand what causes that into our brain and why. The answer is dopamine. This molecule, it's called the pleasure molecule, and it basically causes us to desire something. It's what motivates us to go and do things. And it's very interesting because they have done a study with rats, and they found that they put electrodes on the rats' brains, and there was a flick that the rat could reach, and every time the rat flicked that switch, it would activate that part of the brain where they release the dopamine. And what that did is the rat kept just going through that flick. The rat didn't want to eat, didn't want to do anything else, but it spent the whole day just flicking that thing until it got really tired and slept. Then they did another study with rats where they stopped that part of the brain from the rats and they blocked any type of dopamine. And after a while, those rats, they lost interest in everything. They didn't want to eat, they didn't want to drink, they didn't want to do anything really, because they just didn't have motivation up until they collapsed and died. And what that shows us is that dopamine drives us to do things. And once you understand that, that's when we start working to get the dopamine on our side and not to be our enemy. With humans, our brain works very similarly. And what happens is our brain wants to do the activity that releases more dopamine. And if that activity doesn't release a lot of dopamine straight away, we're not going to get motivated to do that. On the other hand, if an activity releases a lot of dopamine, we're going to get really motivated to do that. And that's when those little things like your phone with social media, you get instant reward by seeing people, by seeing photos, that message popping up in your screen that releases dopamine. Just the sound of that message that releases dopamine. Watching TV and going through a series where you like, you know you're gonna laugh, you know there's gonna be a lot of dopamine in there, and that's what happens. And when you're reading a book or working on your side hustle, when the reward's not gonna come straight away, it's gonna take a while until you develop those skills or your business starts showing up and making a profit, or going to the gym where you're not gonna get fit straight away. The dopamine is gonna be released slowly, so it takes some time, and that's why you don't get motivated straight away to do that. But that is a trick. And it's very interesting, before you go into that trick, that our brain doesn't care if that activity is going to be good for us or not. Even if it's like, if you're going to eat your favorite cake or your favorite chocolate or your favorite sweet, it's going to release a lot of dopamine straight away. So your brain won't care that in the future might cause you to have a disease, that might cause you to get fat, and that might give you a lot of troubles in the future, because it cares about the right now. The brain wants to get that dopamine, that instant gratification. And that, by the way, is what makes people addicted to things. If you think about a drug addict or alcoholic, or someone that is addicted to cigarettes, they keep releasing the dopamine, and then they want more and more, and the more they have it, the more dopamine it releases, so the more they look forward to getting more of that. And so again, your brain doesn't care that is being really bad for you in the long run, because right now it's giving you that satisfaction. And even more interesting is that our brain really likes to get the reward randomly as well, because let's say people get addicted to gambling, and when they go to a casino and they go to the slot machines, even if they lose for like such a long time, once they win, that's like a random amount of dopamine that gets released, and then they go, oh my god, I need more of that. They go on a much longer losing streak, but they know that at some point in time they're gonna get that dopamine again, and it's really bad for them, but they get addicted to it and they don't understand, because it feels good when they are doing it. And some people might not care about that, but they don't understand is that our body has a biological system called homeostasis. And what that does is it wants to keep our internal physical and chemical state at a level. And every time we go out of that level, our body does something to come back and come back to the level that it's ideal for us. For example, if it's really cold outside and you go outside, your body will start shivering to create heat, so you can bring your body back up, temperature back up. On the opposite, if it's really hot outside and you go out, your body will start sweating, so you can bring your temperature down to the level that it's safe, that it feels ideal for you. And another way that our body likes to adapt the homeostasis is by creating tolerance. And for example, if you drink a lot, your body will create a tolerance, so it will take longer for you to get drunk. So if you go out with someone that doesn't normally drink, for example, they will have a beer or two and they will get really drunk. If you drink all the time and you have 5 beers, you still won't feel drunk, because now your body has that tolerance that was created. But it also does that with the dopamine. The problem with that is, now that we have a tolerance for dopamine, our body is used to a very high amount of dopamine, which means it will only want to do those really high dopamine activities, not the ones that don't bring you much dopamine on the spot. So if you think about going on your phone, or people watching pornography, or people eating really bad, or binge eating, for example, that will bring a lot of dopamine, so they'll get used to that. And then the things, trying to eat healthy, trying to go to the gym, and those things that are actually good for you become really, really hard to do. And that is why it gets really hard for people that are addicted to things to go back to a normal life and adapt. For example, if you're addicted to drugs or alcohol and then you go back to your real life, you become like one of those rats that we spoke about, that have no dopamine being released into their brains, so they're not gonna get motivated to do anything. How do you prevent all of this? How do you stop all of this from happening? This is why you're here. The answer is a dopamine detox. Very, very important. Now you might understand why people do challenges and why they are so good and so successful, because basically they getting people to stop that dopamine for a certain amount of time, and after a while they get used to feeling good again with just little, right? So I've done myself a detox where I didn't eat fast food for a while, or I didn't eat takeaway for a while, and then it just felt really good. And then now when I have fast food, when I have takeaway, that feels amazing, because it's just a lot different than what I'm used to. I'm not just used to that every day. Or for example, I stopped drinking, but when I drank every weekend or almost every afternoon, that for me, it just didn't give me anything. And then now when I have a little sip of something, when I'm gonna like cheers with someone or do a toast or something like that, just having that little bit brings me a lot of dopamine and I feel really good, but I don't need much. The ideal time to do this detox, I would say it will be a weekend where you can, for at least your first day, you remove anything from the external world that will bring you dopamine. So no phone, no TV, no junk food, no music, no pornography, no sex, no sports. It's a day that you're gonna take it for yourself, just to be in silence within yourself. You might be able to go out, but just make sure that you don't bring much into your life. You need to have that silence. You need your body to get used to have not much, because what you're doing at the moment is you're not resting your brain. You're in constant just going on and on and on. So sometimes it just gets hard for you to focus on something. You want to start a business, but you can't focus on that business because there is so much dopamine coming from everywhere. Or you want to start this diet and get really fit, but then you just get distracted and then you eat a cake. And that's what we want to change. So for at least the first day, stop everything and just spend the day for yourself. Take that day for yourself, because this is going to help you for whatever it is your goal that you're trying to achieve. And this might sound intense to you, and you even might ask yourself, oh, is this even worth? Well, just think like this. Remember that time, that you have been eating for such a long time, all those takeaways, for example, and that it's your new normal. So that takeaway, having those burgers, is your new normal. That's what I was doing on the weekend. I was eating burgers and pizzas every single weekend. And then if anyone came and offered me a piece of fruit or some other kind of food on the weekend that it wasn't, unhealthy, I would say no, I wouldn't want it, because I didn't crave that. But then after doing this detox, and I actually spent a whole day fasting. I actually spent 2 whole days fasting, and by the end of it, I just grabbed a piece of broccoli, which I never ate before, and it was the most delicious thing I've ever tasted. And that just amazed me, because I wasn't a big fan of broccoli before, and then at that stage it was the best thing I ever tasted in the world. So that just comes to show that this does work, and not just for food, but for anything else in your life, and for you to be able to focus on what it is that you want and that you need in your life. And that will make boring things fun. What happens is those things that were really hard for you to do, such as reading a book or working on your business or anything that you were struggling to doing before and procrastinating, will become a lot easier, because now your body doesn't have that much dopamine and can concentrate and do other things that is good for you. Another way for you to do this, instead of doing in one day or one weekend, you can pick a certain day of the week where you're going to do that certain thing, like not check your phone. For example, on a weekend or on a Sunday, you don't check your phone, or you don't watch TV during the week, or you only eat takeaway on the weekends, or you only drink coffees certain days, whatever it is that you're trying to achieve. Another thing as well that you can do, it's going into one of those challenges. I'm doing myself a challenge, and I'll release very soon for you guys. But that is, if you look at Rob Dyer, he does the Iron Mind 60 challenge, which is 60 days where you go through, cold showers, exercising every day, eating healthy, and there's all these different things. But there's a lot of challenges out there, a lot of detoxes out there, that I highly suggest you to just Google it and look at something that it's related to you and what you are trying to achieve in your life. For me, what I find is, probably out of all of these, the best way is to combine, because if you just do a detox, you probably will go back to the same old behavior. But if you create a new behavior, a new habit of, for example, I don't watch TV anymore, but I only will watch TV if I'm exercising it. Or let's say I don't drink anymore, but I will only drink when it's a celebration, or when, for example, if I achieved something, like I have my business, my targets, and I have on my wall what I get from those things. So it's the reward system. It's you understanding that boredom is being boring, not being boring, but the state of boredom is actually good for you, because it gives you time to think of yourself, it releases you from the dopamine, and you can focus on things. And so once you don't have dopamine in your body, and then you go and work on something that gives you that little dopamine, but it's good for your future, and then after that you reward yourself. You can then eat a chocolate, you can then do something, but don't just go and binge watch something, binge eat something, binge drink without having done anything, because the next day, the next week, the next month, the next year, you're just gonna feel like shit. You're just gonna feel like a loser, and you have not achieved anything when you had all these plans. You know exactly in your mind what you have to do. You just need the motivation, and the way to get the motivation, the way to stop procrastinating, it's by using this technique, is by getting rid of the dopamine and just controlling that in your life. And this is why you hear a lot of successful people saying, do the most important things first in your day or in your week. And the reason is not to achieve the most amazing things first. The reason that they don't tell you is because, or maybe they don't know, is because you first get rid of the things that are considered boring, that are not going to release a lot of dopamine. So then you can go and reward yourself. And then if you work that way, you get addicted to doing the hard things, because the hard things are your way to get the rewarding things. And once you get into that cycle, everything becomes much easier for you, and things are just going to start happening for you in your life, I guarantee. Of course, if you're addicted, especially to some chemical substance, alcohol or drugs, this could be very different for you, and you should always seek medical advice first. And you shouldn't use this as your rewarding thing, because at the end of the day, if you're just going to work really hard, but then at the end of the day just going to get smashed, well, then you're not doing good for yourself either. So you need that balance as well. If you are lacking your motivation or lacking on getting that energy to do those things and are procrastinating, please use these techniques, and I guarantee that you're gonna get a lot of benefit in your life. If you know someone that is stuck as well and needs to hear this, please like and share this video with them, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I'll see you next time. Thank you.